Have you ever noticed how the best meals aren't always the ones with 20 ingredients? Sometimes it's just perfectly ripe tomatoes with a sprinkle of salt. Or how the most memorable conversations happen when you put your phone away and actually listen. There's something profound happening here. Something our overstuffed closets and overflowing calendars are desperately trying to tell us. Welcome to the paradox of less is more. And no, it's not just a catchy phrase your minimalist friend keeps repeating. There's actual science behind why having less can genuinely make us happier, healthier, and more satisfied with life. Let's start with a startling fact. Research from UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives and Families found that the average American home contains over 300,000 items. 300,000! And here's the kicker. A Princeton University study discovered that physical clutter in your environment competes for your attention, resulting in decreased performance and increased stress. Think about your own space right now. How many things can you see that you haven't used in months? How many just-in-case items are taking up precious real estate in your home, and more importantly, in your mind? Because here's what the research tells us. Clutter isn't just annoying. It's actively harming our mental health. A study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that women who described their homes as cluttered had higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, throughout the day. Their bodies were literally in a constant state of stress, just from being surrounded by too much stuff. But it's not just about physical objects. Modern life bombards us with choices. A famous study by psychologist Barry Schwartz revealed something counterintuitive. More choices actually make us less happy, not more. In one experiment, shoppers were offered samples of jam. When presented with 24 varieties, only 3% made a purchase. But when the selection was reduced to just 6 varieties, 30% of people bought jam. That's 10 times more purchases with fewer options. Why? Because every choice we make depletes our mental energy. Researchers call this decision fatigue. By the end of a day filled with choices, what to wear, what to eat, which emails to answer first, which show to watch, we're mentally exhausted. This is why Mark Zuckerberg famously wears the same gray t-shirt every day. It's not a fashion statement. It's a strategic decision to preserve mental energy for choices that actually matter. Now here's where it gets really interesting. A groundbreaking study from San Francisco State University found that experiential purchases, like concerts, trips, or classes, bring more lasting happiness than material purchases. Professor Ryan Howell, who led the research, discovered that the anticipation of experiences brings more happiness than anticipating material goods, and the memories of experiences continue to bring joy long after they're over. A new car, exciting for a few weeks, but the memory of learning to surf with your best friend, that stays with you forever. This aligns with research on hedonic adaptation, our tendency to return to a baseline level of happiness, regardless of positive or negative events. We adapt quickly to material possessions. That new laptop feels amazing for a month. Then it's just your laptop. But experiences, especially shared ones, continue to grow in value over time as we remember and retell them. Let's talk money. A study by Ladder and OnePoll found that the average American spends $18,000 a year on non-essential items. That's $1,500 a month on things they don't actually need. Now imagine redirecting even half of that toward experiences savings, or financial freedom. Research consistently shows that financial stress is one of the top causes of anxiety and relationship problems. A Northwestern Mutual study found that money is Americans' #1 source of stress. By embracing a less is more approach, people aren't just decluttering, they're buying themselves freedom. Freedom from debt, freedom from the pressure to keep up with trends, and freedom to pursue what actually matters to them. This principle extends to our digital lives too. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media use to just 30 minutes per day led to significant reductions in loneliness and depression. Participants who cut back on scrolling reported feeling better about their lives and experienced less FOMO, fear of missing out. But here's the beautiful twist. Researchers have identified a new phenomenon called JOMO, the joy of missing out. It's the pleasure of knowing there's a party happening somewhere and choosing to stay in with a good book instead. It's the freedom of not keeping up with every trend, every news cycle, every viral moment. A survey by JWT Intelligence found that 69% of respondents experienced JOMO, with many reporting they prefer to invest time in more meaningful activities than keeping up with social obligations or online trends. You might think that doing more means achieving more, right? Wrong. Research on productivity reveals the opposite. A study from Stanford University found that productivity per hour declines sharply when people work more than 50 hours a week. After 55 hours, productivity drops so much that working additional hours is pointless. The countries with the shortest work weeks, like Denmark and the Netherlands, consistently rank among the happiest and most productive in the world. They've figured out what research confirms. Less time working, done with more focus, produces better results than long hours of diluted attention. This applies to our to-do lists too. Research on implementation intentions suggests that having just 3 priorities for the day leads to significantly better completion rates than having 10. When we try to do everything, we accomplish nothing. When we focus on less, we achieve more. Perhaps most importantly, living with less creates space for deeper human connections. A study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that quality matters far more than quantity when it comes to friendships. Having a few close, meaningful relationships is better for your health and happiness than dozens of superficial connections. Research by Oxford evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar suggests that humans can maintain only about 150 stable relationships, with just 5 intimate bonds and 15 close friendships. Yet we're trying to maintain hundreds of connections on social media, spreading ourselves impossibly thin. What if instead of trying to be there for everyone, we focus deeply on a few relationships that truly matter? What if we had fewer friends, but knew them better? So how do we actually implement this? Research offers some guidance. Start small. A study on habit formation found that beginning with tiny changes leads to more sustainable results than dramatic overhauls. Don't empty your entire house in a weekend. Start with 1 drawer, 1 shelf, 1 category of items. Apply the 90-90 rule. If you haven't used something in 90 days and won't use it in the next 90, let it go. For decisions, try the hell yes or no principle, backed by research on decision-making. If you're not enthusiastic about something, it's a no. This applies to commitments, purchases, and even relationships, Stop saying yes out of obligation. Schedule white space. Research on creativity and problem-solving shows that our best ideas come during downtime, not when we're frantically busy. Block out time in your calendar with nothing scheduled. Just breathing room. The evidence is clear. Less really is more. More happiness, more freedom, more focus, more meaningful connections, more peace of mind. This isn't about deprivation or becoming a monk living on a mountaintop. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that every item we own, every commitment we make, every app we download, and every choice we face has a cost. Not just in money, but in attention, energy, and time. The question isn't, can I afford this? It's, is this worth what it will cost me in terms of my limited mental energy, physical space, and precious time? Because at the end of our lives, no one wishes they'd owned more stuff, worked more hours, or scrolled more feeds. We wish we'd loved more deeply, laughed more freely, and lived more fully. And that, paradoxically, requires having less. So maybe it's time to try something radical. Subtract before you add. Remove before you acquire. Simplify before you complicate. Your future self, calmer, clearer, and more content, will thank you. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more content on living intentionally in an overwhelming world. See you next time.